What do 100% tariffs, a rookie goalie standing on his head, and a bone-chilling Ottawa Sunday have in common? They're all shaping our week in the capital. Today is Sunday, January 25th, 2026. Quick weather for Ottawa. Temperatures between -28 and -14 degrees, with periods of snow. Let's start on the ice. The Senators ran into a hot rookie in Raleigh. Carolina's Brandon Bussi turned aside 35 shots, and the Hurricanes rode a 3-goal opening period to a 4-1 win over Ottawa. William Carrier finished a cross-ice feed from Jalen Chatfield. Seth Jarvis picked the top corner on James Reimer, and Taylor Hall made it 3 before the first intermission. Andrei Svechnikov added 1 in the second. Ottawa's lone reply came from Tim Stutzle. It was the first meeting between the teams this season, and included a ceremony honoring former Sens coach Jacques Martin. The loss stings, but the story was Bussi, who flat out didn't blink. Staying with hockey, this time the PWHL, Ottawa's charge fell 3-1 to Montreal's victoire at Place Bell. Maureen Murphy scored twice, including a power play one-timer late in the first, and Abby Roque sealed it with an empty netter. Faduza Kadarova had Ottawa's goal, but an earlier Ottawa tally in the second was waved off for incidental contact with the goalie. Anne-Renee Desbiens made 23 saves for Montreal and continues a rock-steady run, allowing 2 or fewer in all of her appearances and 1 or fewer in 7 of 12 starts. Montreal moves into second place. Ottawa will look to cash in on their chances next time out. On the civic front, a new voice is entering the mayoral conversation. Homebuilder Alex Lawson says he's running for Ottawa mayor with a platform centered on improving city services and safety. We'll track how his bid shapes debates on core services, from snow clearing to transit reliability, issues that hit home, especially on a day like this. National politics are in flux, and they're colliding with our pocketbooks. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says she's pressing ahead with U.S. trade agreements, despite tensions between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Joe Biden. Her focus, keeping potential tariffs from kneecapping Alberta's economic interests. Meanwhile, south of the border, President Donald Trump threatened immediate 100% tariffs on all Canadian goods if Canada proceeds with a trade deal with China. He derided Prime Minister Mark Carney as governor, a jab he once used for former PM Justin Trudeau, and argued Canada must not be a drop-off port for Chinese products. Canadian officials stressed that recent China talks were about resolving tariff issues, not pursuing a free trade deal. That 1-2 punch, trade ambitions in the West, and tariff threats from Washington, lands right as new data show how our cross-border habits are changing. Statistics Canada says Canadian land travel to the U.S. fell 30.9% in 2025. The Canada Border Services Agency processed 17 million Canadian vehicles heading south, down about 7.6 million from 2024, while American visits to Canada fell 6.3%. Analyst Laura Presley called the length and depth of the decline unprecedented in recent history. The reasons aren't specified, but add this to the broader picture. When trade rhetoric heats up, everyday movement can cool fast. Prime Minister Mark Carney, for his part, is looking well beyond North America. He'll address Australia's Parliament in March, after a Davos speech where he criticized the weaponization of economic integration and tariffs. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese backed Carney's call for middle powers to bolster a rules-based order. Canada and Australia also inked a critical minerals cooperation agreement in October, important for supply chains behind batteries, electric vehicles, and the chips that power artificial intelligence. That overlap of climate goals and AI hardware is where geopolitics meets your next car, your grid, and the data centers training the tools we all use. Back in Ottawa, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is challenging the Prime Minister to deliver concrete actions as Parliament reconvenes. He's offered to work with the Liberals to fast-track legislation on trade, lowering grocery costs, bail reform, and approvals for major projects. He also hammered the government over food inflation, higher gas prices, what he calls anti-energy policies, and gaps in Canada's military capacity. Separately, Poilievre plans to run in a different riding in the next federal election after losing his seat in a by-election. Add it up, and you get an opposition leader staking ground on affordability and energy, while the government talks alliances and supply chains. a debate that runs right through Ottawa's tech, public service, and clean economy sectors. A moment to reflect on who we are as a country. A new piece on Canadian identity leans on family histories, the 13-year mission in Afghanistan, our longest combat deployment, and the enduring psychological impact on soldiers, including significant PTSD-related disability awards. Communities across Canada honor service and sacrifice through memorials, a reminder that national commitments abroad are felt at home, at cenotaphs and kitchen tables alike. Here in the capital, that resonance is never far away. If you're looking to plug into local stories in lighter ways, CBC/Radio Canada is stepping up engagement. Public libraries across the country are hosting free watch parties for the 2026 Winter Olympics and Paralympics, with digital toolkits, and early registrants received physical engagement kits. CBC Ottawa has a weekly news quiz to test how closely you're following files like LRT reliability, City Hall shifts, and our hockey fortunes. And the This Is Ottawa podcast drops fresh episodes every Monday, digging into the stories that make our city tick. On the sports side, CBC's PWHL broadcasts continue to showcase matchups like Ottawa Charge versus Montreal Victoire, worth a watch if you want a front-row look at the growth of the women's game. Before we go, a quick wrap. The Senators will need to find more finish after running into Brandon Bussi's 35-save wall. The Charge were one disallowed goal away from a different night in Laval. On Parliament Hill and beyond, Canada's trade posture is being tested on two fronts, pushing deals where possible while bracing for tariff talk from Washington. And in a colder, more competitive world, Canada's work with Australia on critical minerals shows how climate goals and AI-era industry are increasingly the same conversation. Ottawa's weather again, temperatures between -28 and -14 degrees with periods of snow. Bundle up, take it slow on the roads, and we'll see you tomorrow.